Why do we believe in the Trinity as evangelical Christians, biblical Christians, born again Christians, whatever you want to call us? A lot of people are under the impression that we're required to believe in the Trinity because the Council of Nicaea told us to, or anything, something like that. That's actually not why we believe in the Trinity. We believe it because it's found in Scripture. It's a result of a holistic view of Scripture when you look at Old Testament and New Testament with both eyes open and taking to consideration everything that the Bible has to say on the subject. You end up with the doctrine of the Trinity. But since there's a lot of preconceived notions and presuppositions that people have on what they think the Trinity is, just so we can clear those out of the way before we get into what the actual doctrine of the Trinity is, I like to talk first and foremost what the Trinity is not, what we do not mean when we say we believe in the Trinity. First thing is we don't believe that Jesus is the Father and the Father is the Spirit and the Spirit is Jesus and all of them are the same person. We don't believe that God has three different masks where he or plays three different parts, puts on three different costumes or anything like that. We also don't believe that there are three gods, so that the Son is one God who is separate from the Father, who is another God, who is separate from the Spirit, who is another God. Then you would have tritheism, which is what we don't believe, especially because the Bible emphatically teaches that there's only one God and only one God. Third, we don't believe that Jesus is subordinate in the sense that he's a lesser God, or that we have demigods or different levels of gods or anything like that. And the Father is a top God and they rank out each other or anything like that. So that's also what we don't mean when we talk about the Trinity. So the actual definition of the Trinity historically is the Trinity is one God who exists in three co-equal, co-eternal, and distinct persons. So right off the bat, some people are going to think that's confusing when really the reason it's worded that way is because of what we find in Scripture. And we can go through these three premises to show how we arrive at the doctrine of the Trinity, because a lot of people say, oh, the Trinity, the word's not even in the Bible. We know. That's not why. It's just it's a term that was coined to put a name to a concept of what the Bible teaches. So the first premise is that there's only one God. The Bible teaches this emphatically. Deuteronomy 6:4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Or Isaiah 44:6, he says, I am the first, I am the last, and besides me, there is no God. So besides him, there is no God. One God. Second premise is that you find three persons in the Bible who all have these attributes of God, attributes that only God could possess. So Father, Son, and Spirit, all of them are called God. All of them are called Creator. All of them indwell believers. All of them are omniscient or all-knowing. All of them are the giver of life. All of them are eternal. And we can go on and on about their equality with each other in that sense. Third is we see a distinction between these three persons. And so we see that it's not God putting on three different costumes, but they're actually distinct from one another. So you have Jesus at his baptism with Jesus in the water, the Spirit coming down, Father speaking from heaven, Jesus praying in the garden. We see a distinction in their wills. A will would be an attribute of personhood, so you see different persons at that point. Not my will, but let your will be done. That's what Jesus says to his Father. So with those three premises, what we end up with is a definition that sounds kind of like, God is one God who exists in three co-equal, co-eternal, and distinct persons. That's basically how we end up with the doctrine of the Trinity, biblically, in Scripture, looking at both testaments with both eyes open, taking everything into consideration. And when we see all that, you end up with the doctrine of the Trinity.